Listen Up Wiltshire, Issue 7, Autumn 2022. Messages for Wiltshire, written and produced by disabled people. Inside this issue, disability debunked, our campaigning groups, make someone welcome update, unchanging the social model of disability, World Mental Health Day, not just the ticket, public living rooms, Listen Up recommends, Ralph and Katie, Priority Services Register. Disability debunked. Listen Up Wiltshire have launched a new social media campaign called #DisabilityDebunked. It tackles some of those commonly asked questions around disability with an aim to educate people and challenge the taboo around talking about disability. In 2014, Scope conducted a survey which found that 67% of people said they felt uncomfortable talking to a disabled person. Many people were unsure how to communicate with a disabled person and were afraid of saying the wrong things and upsetting people. These feelings have created a culture where talking about disability is often avoided. This is the first thing that Disability Debunked is here to challenge. We want to talk about and acknowledge disability. Disability is not something we should be afraid of. Instead, we want to encourage people to learn about and understand some of the wonderful differences between disabled and non-disabled people. Disability Debunked encourages people to find out more about life with a disability, to ask questions and be curious. In our first video, we talked to Matt and Mary about some of the differences between a manual and power wheelchair. So, is it always okay to ask questions? Quite simply, no. We encourage curiosity and questions, but only at appropriate times and places. As disabled people ourselves, we each have examples of when strangers have asked us questions about our disability at inappropriate times. Perhaps you're queuing in a shop and the person behind you begins to ask why you have a mobility aid, why you look the way you do, or even the dreaded question, what's wrong with you then? It is frustrating when you're trying to go about your daily life and strangers begin to ask you very personal and sensitive questions. We understand that for most people, these questions do not come from a place of malice, but rather curiosity. We also acknowledge that asking questions is an important part of learning about disability, but there is a time and a place. And that place is Disability Debunked. We are creating a safe space where people can ask the questions they have around disability. Each participant in our campaign is happy to answer questions and will only share as much as they feel comfortable with. We want to create a culture where we can talk about disability freely, whilst also respecting an individual's privacy to their own personal medical information. So where can I find out about Disability Debunked? Our Disability Debunked campaign can be viewed across our social media platforms. Check them out and leave us your questions and ideas for future videos. At Listen Up Wiltshire on Instagram, at Wiltshire Still on Twitter and Facebook, and at Listen Up Wiltshire on TikTok. Our campaigning groups. If you've read or listened to Listen Up Wiltshire before, you will know all about our fabulous campaigning groups already. We run 3 regular groups across Wiltshire, each one giving people a voice and creating change in our community. Our knowledge cafes are for people with learning disabilities and or autism. We have 2 groups, one based in Devizes and the other in Warminster. Each knowledge cafe meets up once a month. Speak Up is a group for people with any disability. We meet in Devizes approximately every 6 weeks. If you'd like to get involved in any of our groups, drop us an email on userengagement@wiltshirecil.org.uk and we will let you know when our next meeting is. Here's a taste of just some of the things these groups have worked on over the past year. Changing services. We work with the NHS and Wiltshire Council to help them develop new and existing services. In the last few months, we have been working with hospitals on improving their waiting spaces and with Wiltshire Council on how technology at home can give us greater independence. Advising businesses. We work with organisations to support them to become more inclusive. Last month, we met with Wiltshire Museums to advise them on the development of the new museum at the Size Court in Devizes. Developing training. We use our lived experience to educate others. This year we have helped develop training for personal assistants and bus drivers. Running campaigns. We develop and run campaigns based on what matters to us. We created hospital passport templates to make communication in medical settings easier. Listen Up magazine. Everyone has the opportunity to contribute to the Listen Up magazine. Ian wrote an article about a cookbook he created, and Jonah wrote an article about his love of boccia. Creating podcasts. Speak Up Group created a podcast episode about life with epilepsy, and the Knowledge Cafes recorded their experiences of autism. Campaigning workshops. We take part in workshops to help us develop our campaigning skills and imagine our campaigns in the future. Raising awareness. We create awareness campaigns and join in with national awareness days such as Mental Health Awareness Day, Autism Acceptance Day and Epilepsy Awareness Day. Here's a couple of quotes from people that come to our meetings. I like these. I'm making a step towards making change. I like coming to these meetings because it improves the performance of council to provide services for disabled people. MSW Spotlight. Alongside our Listen Up campaigns, we also run a project called Make Someone Welcome. The project celebrates the kindness within our communities and aims to get people from all walks of life connected in our community. Any community group or business, big or small, can sign up and get involved. All you need to do is make a pledge to Make Someone Welcome. There are over 240 groups, organisations and businesses signed up to the campaign throughout Wiltshire. It's really easy to get involved. Simply get in touch with us and we will arrange a visit to chat about how your group can take part. We will then support you to create and achieve your own pledge. Here are a few of our latest sign-ups to Make Someone Welcome campaign and the brilliant pledges they have achieved along the way. Middlefields House. Middlefields House is a care home that was recently opened in Chippenham. Alongside the care home, they've opened a community cafe. Matt, Sam and Zoe visited and worked with them to make a pledge to make their cafe accessible to the whole community. Alongside making the cafe physically accessible, they've bought inclusive mugs and ensured they have straws available. Tedworth Equestrian Centre. Tedworth Equestrian Centre pledged to provide a hoist for disabled access. They installed the hoist which enables disabled people and injured service personnel to enjoy and ride horses again. Unchanging the social model of disability. The new Minister for Disabled People, Claire Coutinho, has been reported as telling the Disability News Service that she was not aware of the social model of disability and is unable to say how it will influence her work as the Minister for Disabled People. But what does this really mean? The past few months of politics in the UK has been somewhat of a whirlwind, with scores of resignations and appointments of new ministers. Amongst these, the role of Minister for Disabled People has once again changed hands, this time to East Surrey MP Claire Coutinho. At this time, information around her appointment has been limited, but she recently attended a Scope Fringe event focused on Scope's campaign for accessible playgrounds. Whilst at the event, Coutinho was interviewed by the Disability News Service, in which she admitted that she was not aware of the social model of disability. The social model of disability was developed during the disability rights movement of the 1960s and 1970s. It became a crucial foundation for the movement which aimed to bring social change for disabled people globally. The model was developed to challenge the traditional viewpoint that disabilities are medical problems that need curing, containing and avoiding at all costs. Often referred to as the medical model of disability, it dictates that a person is disabled by their impairment. In order for an individual to fully take part in society, they need to change to fit into a non-disabled world. Emphasis is put on how a disabled person can overcome their impairment and must do everything they can to function as a non-disabled person. The social model of disability flips this on its head. It states that people do have impairments, but it is the barriers, inaccessibility and inequalities in our society that disables an individual. People don't need to change to be included in their communities. Instead, communities should be built to be accessible and inclusive to everyone. It emphasises the strengths and abilities we all have and the contribution we can give to society. So what does this look like in practice? Let's imagine a deaf person decides to go to the cinema. The film starts and there are no subtitles or sign language interpreters. The medical model would say this individual is unable to fully engage with the film because they are deaf. If they were hearing, they would be able to. The social model, however, would state that the individual is unable to engage fully because of the lack of subtitles and sign language interpreters. If these forms of communication were available, the individual would be able to experience the film like everyone else. The deaf individual does not need to change who they are to fully engage. Instead, the right communication tools need to be available to them. The social model of disability runs through the heart of many disabled persons' organisations throughout the UK. It underpins the work of disabled campaigners and is the roadmap for creating a more inclusive society. It is fundamental to creating true equality for disabled people. So why does it matter that Claire Coutinho seemed unaware of it? The models of disability go far beyond matters of accessibility. They narrate the way in which we are seen by society. We are not people waiting to be fixed, living at the mercy of medical interventions, charitable acts and services. We are full and valuable citizens who deserve to be seen and respected as such. We have as much to give as everybody else. Our society and communities should be built in such a way that disabled people are able to fully engage and participate. And believe it or not, at the moment our country is far from this. Discrimination and inequalities toward disabled people run rife for our daily lives. If we stand any chance of changing this, our government needs to be rooted in the principles of the social model of disability. We no longer want to be seen as a problem that needs to be fixed. We are enough. We are valuable. We are strong. We are disabled. We are people. We do not seek to be changed. We seek to be accepted and appreciated as we are. We want a government that understands this. We want a government that fights for equality. We want a government that sees us for who we really are. So, perhaps it's time that we all became familiar with the social model of disability, because we aren't going to stop talking about it anytime soon. World Mental Health Day. On Monday 10th of October, we marked World Mental Health Day. This year's theme, as set by the World Federation for Mental Health, was Make Mental Health and Wellbeing for All a Global Priority. We partnered up with Rethink to ask people how they help their mental wellbeing, thinking about the 5 ways to wellbeing: connect, give, be active, take notice and keep learning. People shared their favourite things to do. Connect. I smile and say good morning or afternoon to strangers, especially at a bus stop. I go to lots of clubs online and in person: Barnardo's, autism group, cycling club, different Facebook groups, Zoom and podcasting. Having pets is a conversation starter, helps connect you when out and about. Using my new phone, sharing photos with other people. Give. Acts of kindness. I like to leave water out for the birds and animals. Baking for other people as a gift. Let someone go ahead of you in the shop queue. Talking to and supporting my friends. Give to yourself. You're not going to be any use to anyone else if you don't look after yourself. Be active. I'd like to try surfing, so we'll find some people to go with. Keeping your brain active as well as your body, watching comedy and listening to music. Yoga, dancing around my kitchen while cooking supper. Being with a group in the community, it's easier and you're more likely to exercise if with others. Going for quick walks, but not in the rain. Take notice. I take time out to meditate before I go to bed. Time with nature, collecting the sunflower seeds to grow next year. Write a list of 5 things you like about you. Sitting on a beach, relaxing to the sound of the waves. I have a video to watch when I can't be there. Take notice of the people around you. Be aware of how your friends are feeling. Learn. I want to learn money skills, how to budget and save money. College courses, crafts, aromatherapy, making eco-friendly soaps. I am learning how to make a cup of tea independently using a water dispenser and water level. I'm getting help to learn how to use my new phone. Never being afraid to ask questions or say I don't understand without feeling the need to apologise first. Not just the ticket. Over the past few months there have been multiple rail strikes throughout the UK. Rail workers are striking over multiple disputes, one of which being the future of ticket offices in train stations. Although an official statement from the government has not yet been released, numerous news outlets have reported on plans to close between 80 to 100% of existing ticket offices. So what does this mean for disabled people? Campaigning organisation Transport for All has launched #NotJustTheTicket, a campaign to fight against these closures. They are calling on the government to pause any plans of closures and to recognise the crucial role they have in enabling disabled people to access the railway. Approximately 1 in 8 rail tickets are currently bought from a ticket office. Without staffed offices, tickets will instead need to be bought online or via ticket vending machines at the station. Taking away the option to pay at a staff counter will cause multiple issues for disabled people. 23% of disabled adults have no access to the internet, compared to 6% of non-disabled adults. This makes online booking inaccessible to many people. Ticket vending machines also present accessibility issues for some people. Many do not take cash payments, which excludes people who don't have a bank account from buying a ticket. Furthermore, they have little tactile information, can be difficult to reach, and can be difficult to operate if you have limited upper body mobility and dexterity. But the value of manned ticket offices goes beyond buying tickets. For many disabled people, they are the first point of contact to receive assistance on your journey. Whether it be the deployment of a ramp, someone to guide you through the station, support to read the departure boards, or navigating through crowds, the ticket office is a recognisable and reliable place to ask for this support. Without this central point of contact, the onus is placed on the disabled person to find another member of staff in the station. If the station is unmanned or a member of staff cannot be found, then you have to rely on a help point. This is a phone point which contacts a helpline outside of the station to offer support. However, a recent report by Office of Rail and Road found that only 51% of calls made actually led to a disabled person receiving assistance. These are not viable alternatives to in-person assistance. So what does all this mean for disabled people? Closing ticket offices completely will be a step backwards for the accessibility of rail travel. Whether that be becoming stranded at stations or not being able to buy a ticket, this is a real threat in the fight for accessible travel. Whilst we acknowledge that changes may be inevitable to respond to an evolving technological world and financial pressures, these changes must not be made at the expense of disabled people. For more information on this campaign and to get involved, visit www.transportforall.org.uk. Public Living Rooms Update. In our last issue, we introduced the Public Living Room in Devizes, a community-led space for people to come together once a week and have a cuppa. With no agenda, it is simply a place to come, be yourself and meet new people. Over the past few months, more living rooms have started around Wiltshire, so we wanted to bring you an updated list. Each one is open to everyone, so why not pop along? Devizes, Cheese Hall Devizes Town Hall, every Friday from 1 p.m. Malmesbury Library, every Tuesday 1:30 to 4:30 p.m. Salisbury, 29A Brown Street, every Wednesday 3 to 5 p.m. Trowbridge Town Hall, the last Thursday of the month 2 to 4 p.m. Invisible Differences, Listen Up recommends. Invisible Differences is a graphic novel written and illustrated by Mademoiselle Caroline and Julie Deschet. Originally written in French, in 2020 it was translated and published into English too. The story follows Marguerite, a 27-year-old who is struggling to navigate through the chaos and unpredictability of her life. After a series of difficult experiences and interactions, Marguerite learns she is autistic. This prompts her to look at the world through a new lens as she begins to explore what it's like to navigate a neurotypical world as an autistic person. Invisible Differences is a tender and intimate story. The creative use of colour and shape offers us a beautiful glimpse into Marguerite's mind. This book extends far beyond words. It tunes into your senses, emotions, and your own perceptions of the world. It portrays Marguerite's real sensitivity while asking the question, why doesn't the world understand and appreciate autistic people? Snowball app. Snowball is a new community app which reviews local businesses and attractions on their accessibility. Created by podcaster and disability campaigner Simon Sampson, the app was launched in August 2022. This is a true community project and calls upon disabled people to rate and review places in their local area. It's easy to add a review and gives you the chance to add photos, rate it on a scale, and add your own words. The ambition for this app is that the more people who contribute it and the more places that are reviewed, the greater resource it can be to the disability community. The app is free to use and can be downloaded on Apple and Android phones. Just search for Snowball Community. Disability in the media. Check out our latest watch list of disability represented in our mainstream media. Ralph and Katie is a new BBC drama, a spin-off from The A Word, which last aired in 2020. The series follows characters Ralph and Katie as they navigate newlywed life. This is the first ever UK drama which stars two leading actors with learning disabilities. It can be watched now on BBC iPlayer. John and Joe Bishop, Life After Death, is a documentary which follows comedian John Bishop and his son Joe, who lost most of his hearing at the age of 15. The pair embark upon a journey to understand more about the deaf community and learn British Sign Language. This programme can be watched on the ITV Hub. Life After Death stand-up show. Following on from the documentary, John Bishop headlines a night of British Sign Language comedy alongside Davin Lilly, Ray Bradshaw, Ace Marbaz, Leah Francisco and John Smith. This is also available to watch on the ITV Hub. Panorama. Will the NHS care for me? Line of Duty actor and campaigner Tommy Jessup investigates why people with a learning disability are more than twice as likely to die from avoidable causes than the rest of the population. He hears the stories and experiences of families who have lost loved ones prematurely. I Used to Be Famous is a Netflix film which follows Vince, a desperate former pop star who dreams of making a comeback. Vince meets Stevie, a drummer. He's played by Leo Long. He said, "I'm not a stereotype, I am a stand-up, neurodivergent actor. When I first read the script, I saw a tremendous opportunity for all disabled actors." Rising Phoenix is a documentary released in 2020 which follows 9 Paralympians in their journey to the 2016 Rio Games. It explores the role that the Paralympics has in representing disability in our wider society. This can be watched on Netflix. Scottish Southern Electric Priority Services Register. We've been hearing a lot about the possibility of power cuts this winter. Whilst we don't know if this will actually happen, it's good to know there is extra help for those who need it. For example, people who use medical equipment or aids reliant on electricity, older people, people living with children under 5, disabled people. Of course, everyone is different, so SSE encourage you to get in touch to discuss your needs. As well as support during planned or unplanned power cuts, they can advise on energy saving, reducing bills and any grants that might be available. There are different ways you can contact them. Phone 0800 294 3259, this free phone. Text phone 0800 316 5457. ssen.co.uk/PSR. British Sign Language via interpreternow.co.uk/SSEM. And of course, if you have a power cut, simply call 105. Devise's annual Colour Rush. This is a firm favourite event at Listen Up Wiltshire. Every year Doka hosts the Colour Rush, a 5-kilometre run where people have powder paint thrown at them. Last year Doka introduced an accessible route, which is both shorter and free from steps. We took part again this year and had a brilliant time. Why not come and join us in the fun next year?